can take a long time. Suddenly it's here. Countdown to the new year. The last seconds, and then it's here. A new year, a new beginning, with new opportunities to make something of it. The past is behind us.
I just want you to take a moment. First of all, let me tell you that we did not have a Christmas Eve service on the Wednesday before Christmas, but we will be having a Christmas Eve New Year's Eve service on the Wednesday before New Year's. And that will also begin our 24-hour prayer that will begin at 9 o'clock at night. But the service starts at 7. So don't get the two confused. We start at 7. I do want you to think just briefly something that we would have last Sunday. But it's an interesting thought. It's tied into how the Greek lays out here in verse 14 of Galatians chapter 4. Paul talks about his coming to Galatia, and it goes on to say, and you did not despise or consider me worthless. The word actually means to just be literally kind of offended by a person, just to consider them of no value whatsoever, or loathe. And that word is a word that actually kind of, they use the letters to sound like what it means. It actually means to spit on a person. So loathe, you demean a person to the lowest level. You're not worth anything. But notice, your trial by my flesh. That's literally what it says in the Greek. It was their trial by his flesh. And I just want you to think for a moment about people and how we relate to people, because it is an issue. There is this sense, whether we like it or not, is that we actually can relate to people in a way that if they're not living up to a certain standard, if they don't present themselves in a certain way, if they have certain issues going on in their life, we want nothing to do with them. It's not uncommon. I believe that that's the way most people live their lives. I certainly believe that many Christians and most unsaved people will live their lives in such a way. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some people that are incredibly benevolent, or they have this incredible compassion, and they do, and they share it with other people, and for various reasons. But typically, people spend a great deal of time avoiding things that are uncomfortable for them, and I get that. I do. I really do. But for you and I, our trial is simply how we might respond to those people that are in situations that we consider to be belittling or even contemptuous. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 25 and verse, actually 31 through 45 if I'm not mistaken, but remember when he returns to the earth and he brings the sheep and the goats into his presence, or those that are on his right hand and those that are on his left. And to those that are on his right, he says, look, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I was naked, you clothed me. I was in prison, you visited me. And they said, when did we see you? And he would say, inasmuch as you did this to one of these, the least of my saints, you did it to me. Now think about that. These are just people. We all have read or heard of entertaining in Hebrews 13:1 and 2, angels unaware. These are just people. They have various circumstances in their life, and they've gone through some very ugly events, situations, and maybe they haven't acted the best, or maybe they acted the only way they knew how. But how we treat people is really a crucial issue. Paul says, look, what I was going through, whether it be the physicality of my circumstance or how I was perceived by the Jews, or I think it had more to do with his health issues, but it was your trial. It was your trial. You didn't despise me, and you didn't basically consider me worthless. You didn't spit on me. It really kind of makes us think. Makes us think about perhaps what God is doing with the people that we face on a consistent basis. And certainly being in the inner city, we run into a lot of this. That it's more about how we respond to them than actually what they appear to be. It's more about what Christ places in our heart for them, what the Spirit of Christ is doing for them, than it is about their circumstance. We don't know all those things. Only God does. But apparently this person has been placed in our life. So there's an interesting verse, and we'll close with this in Proverbs chapter 17. We all know it. You've heard it many times. In verse 17 it says, look, a friend loves at all times. But there is a brother that's born for adversity. Let's take this next year and be a people that God has raised up to it's not a trial for us to care for people. It won't be a trial for us to minister to people. It's something I've always appreciated about our two chaplains in this church, Pastor Emmett and Pastor Jim. They go into all kinds of circumstance, all kinds of people, all kinds of responses, all kinds of settings. And it's not a trial. It's not a trial for them to care, to be compassionate, because of the love that Christ has placed in their heart. Let's be that kind of person. Till next time, friends.